Well, welcome everybody to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Steve Chiama, and I'm the franchise owner for Action Coach in Fairfax, Virginia. And I'm your host today for the Business Spotlight podcast. And today I have the pleasure to introduce Stephen Suissa, the president of ASAP Payroll, as my guest. And today we're going to talk about Stephen's business, his journey into the business issues, the business growth, the business challenges, and share a peek into what it's really like to build and operate a business. So if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when a new show like this one drops. Stephen, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. And please, if you would, give us a little bit of background about who you are and tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to be on here with you, and hopefully we'll have a great conversation about also exchanges to what business is like as an entrepreneur. So I graduated with an accounting degree and went into public accounting, worked for a firm, Gelman, Rosenberg, and Friedman, great firm. And a couple of years in, went from public accounting to private business, and was brought in as a staff accountant at the end of my tenure there, which was about 10 years. I was the CEO of the company. We had grown the company to about $30 million, and
Nice.
it was a lot of fun. At the time, I was not married. I had that ability to spend endless amount of time, growing businesses and meetings and all that kind of stuff. And it was a lot of fun. I had the owner of the company was a phenomenal mentor, just an incredible personality. And I was very grateful to him for all the opportunities. Obviously I had to prove myself in every stage and every step of the way. And then after about 10 years, my family owns a couple of businesses. And I had gotten a call from my father, who owned a business with 5 locations at the time, and said, I need some bookkeeping and payroll help. And funny enough, my answer was, well, Dad, I'm a CEO. And my dad said, okay, well, I'm a DAD, and that trumps CEO. So I said, yeah, you know what? It's an incredible opportunity. So I went out and started my own bookkeeping, accounting, GovCon, and payroll company. Ended up started with family businesses, doing accounting, bookkeeping, payroll, all of that, and that just morphed really over 25 years into a couple of things, but what we have now.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about, let's give the listeners some context. Let's talk a little bit about how the business is structured. And are you solo owner? Do you have business partners? Are there outside investors? How's that part of the business structured?
I tell you, it's funny when you are a CEO of a company and you pretty much have autonomy. It's hard to bring partners in. It's hard to bring in VC that tells you what to do. So I was very fortunate. I started my business and already had a built-in client base because of the family. So I was able to grow the business without taking VC or partners.
Good.
I don't think there's anything wrong with having a partner as long as partners have different specialities, right? So if one sticks to operations and one sticks to finance and one sticks to sales, I think that there's clear lines in division. I think that could be a very successful recipe. For myself, I wanted to do it on my own and just have really great people that I work with and compensate them well and make sure the business continued to grow.
Yeah, that's a fantastic feeling, is to build something, isn't it?
It is. It's incredible. And I think that you have to remember that even as an owner, over 25 years, I didn't build this on my own. I mean, all of the staff that I have really it's the oil that makes the engine work. And so, it's really kudos to a great staff that allows a company to grow, right? If they feel pride of ownership, pride in working there, right? Flexibility. We were 25 years ago, that didn't exist. That word flexibility and work from home, right, didn't really exist. And
Hmm.
we made it work for employees that were really great, that we
Hmm.
wanted to keep, that either moved out of town because of their husband or wife or whatever it was. We made it work. We figured out how to do it.
Good, good. There's a transition process that you kind of skipped over. I want to explore a little bit. Um, a lot of people get into this business with a skill and they think that means they've got to do that work. To do what you did, you had to leave that behind. How did that transition process go?
Wow. I'll tell you, I often joke and say that I'm a rehabilitated accountant, right? Because I ended up, I didn't do tax and audit when I started my,
Hmm.
um, it's really, I have developed this philosophy, and it was very, very much developed in the beginning of my career, is everybody's a salesperson, period.
Hmm.
Whether you are
Hmm.
an owner, whether you're an employee, no matter what position you're in, you are a salesperson. You are representing not only the company, but you're representing yourself.
Hmm.
And whether that is a future job or whether it's your current job and promoting through, right, the ranks in an existing company, you are a salesperson. And so I've always had that mentality. Even
Hmm.
you learn that even as a CPA, even as a
Hmm.
staff CPA, you're
Hmm.
interacting with clients. The
Hmm.
way you interact with clients, what you say to them, how quickly you respond to them,
Hmm.
that is all part of sales.
Hmm.
It's client retention is sales.
Hmm.
I think that was a big part of the mentality that was really fed into me early on in my
Hmm.
career.
Good.
I figured and developed that really sales is what an owner should be doing.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, that kind of opens up another question related to that. In any business, there's a whole bunch of hats. Okay, marketing's a hat, sales is a hat, sales management is a hat, production is a hat, doing the work is a hat, doing the internal accounting for your own business is a hat, doing the HR is a hat, and there's whole bunches of hats within each one of those. Which are the hats you wear today?
Today, honestly, I'm solely focused on the sales and the relationships with the clients. I have a
Hmm.
phenomenal back end staff. Uh,
Hmm.
they are awesome. They get to know the
Hmm.
clients really well.
Hmm.
Clients actually prefer to call them when they have
Hmm.
because they can get a hold of them. I'm
Hmm.
really the last resort guy, right? If something doesn't
Hmm.
get done, I get the phone call and then it
Hmm.
gets done immediately.
Hmm.
For the most part, our employees develop relationships with our clients and they are on a first name basis. And that's what you want. You want that
Hmm.
relationship where, the client feels comfortable calling and getting something done.
Hmm.
And one of the biggest benefits of that is that there's no such thing as a company that doesn't make a mistake, right? So building those relationships allows for communication to get those mistakes corrected and corrected immediately, right? And that's really the true test of how successful I think a company can be is how
Hmm.
quickly it reacts to a mistake that is made. Now, whether that's a client mistake that was made in payroll, right? Or whether that's a employee mistake that was made, right?
Hmm.
How quickly that is resolved, I think
Hmm.
is critical.
It's not really about the mistake, it's about how you handle it.
Exactly. It really
Good, good. Let's talk a little bit about those customers. Who are the preferred target market customers that you're really looking to reach out to?
So, it's funny, it hasn't changed since the inception of the company. It's definitely
Hmm.
grown a little bit, but I'll
Hmm.
tell you that we've kept our philosophy that made us successful in the beginning, which I think has changed over time. So, in the payroll business, 25 years ago, people would call, you pick the phone up, you communicate, you respond, you do whatever needs to be done. And
Mm-hmm.
over the last few years, what has happened is the big national payroll companies have actually tried to rewire and remarket the customer mentality to
Mm-hmm.
very much um, we want to save costs, so we're going to make you do your payroll, right? Whereas my philosophy has always been we pick the phone up when our clients call, and we are more than happy to process the payroll, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have many clients that will go in and process their own payroll because it's pretty
Mm-hmm.
standard. And we have many
Mm-hmm.
clients that will email the payroll and say, here are the names, here are the hours. Please go ahead and process this. Send me a preview for approval, or, please just go ahead and process.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that's disappearing in the payroll business. Everyone is being led to believe that payroll is so simple that you can just log in and do it yourself. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the mistake that people have made is, when COVID hit, people started going everywhere, right? If your business was in Maryland, your employees were in Maryland. When COVID hit, people started moving to other places. Remote work started happening. And a lot of business owners, a lot of payroll, a lot of folks that were running their own payroll didn't realize that there are changes that occur when you do that, right? Unemployment changes. Where are they working from? Post-your compliance, which is mandatory changes, right? There's PTO requirements with each state and even with each county. So if somebody
Mm-hmm.
moves to a different county, a different state, there's a different PTO requirement for that,
Mm-hmm.
paid time off. And so, Maryland, for example, instituted a sick and safe leave, right, in 2018. But Montgomery County instituted their own sick and safe leave, which is even more stringent than Maryland. So unless you know these things, right, then you're going to make a mistake. And that mistake, it could be a really big issue for a company. It can really
Yeah.
hurt a company. In fact, I'll tell you that most of our clients that come to us is because a mistake was made by a big national payroll company. They made the mistake. The client wasn't informed. All of a sudden, this huge tax bill comes due where there's a problem with the employee with PTO or being terminated. And now it's got to get resolved. Then they realize we actually need the interaction with a payroll company. So our clients are generally in the for-profit, nonprofit association space, generally between 1 and 250 employees. That's
Okay.
really our wheelhouse. I think when you
Mm-hmm.
get over that, you really need the expertise of, FMLA, and you need
Mm-hmm.
expertise of different systems that kind of APIs that work together. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that we can do. It's not something I ever wanted to get involved in. I also, from a
Mm-hmm.
business philosophy standpoint, I was always a believer that I would rather have 10 clients of 10 employees, right, than one client of 100. Because if you're 100 employees, you've got an HR director. And that
Mm-hmm.
HR director, if they leave or they get replaced, the new HR person is going to decide, hey, you know what? I worked with this company. We're going to go to this payroll company now. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a greater loss. It's also, I found, easier to make 10 clients of 10 employees happy versus
Mm-hmm.
one of 100.
Mm-hmm.
It's much easier to keep them happy.
Mm-hmm. Cool. 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 Just kind of along that line, what's one thing you wish more people knew about your business?
Wow. I would tell you it may be really beating a dead horse, but payroll is not a commodity. Everyone's trying to sell it as a commodity. The fact that we pick the phone up, we talk to our clients, we help our clients, it really is very unique in the industry. It's become, unfortunately, very unique in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people are being sold on this concept of, oh, everybody who's new who owns a business is it's a do-it-yourself. My experience, even over the last 5 years, is completely opposite. It's do-it-yourself until you have a problem. And then when there's a problem, you're not an expert. So my time, we talked about my role being sales, right? A lot of times, part of that role is taking calls and helping prospects through some of the errors that other payroll companies made before they switch. And sometimes they switch, right? The most of the times they do. And sometimes it's just information that I'm giving and they're just correcting it, right? So
Kind of a consulting role.
exactly. And it's not a charged role. It's not something I charge a
Hmm.
fee for, right? It's more of, I think it allows to build your reputation. Not everything is billable, right? There's some things you need to do to help people who are in a bind. So that's really our mentality, is to help people as much as possible.
Is that one of the things that makes you unique, is willing to share and consult and give people a little bit of more education in the challenges that they need to deal with?
Absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you the number of clients, or prospects that I've spoken with who said, "Hey, I'm calling you for a bid." Right? And I said, okay, well, how many employees? We go through our usual questions, and then I
Hmm.
ask the typical questions, which are, well, have the other folks that you are getting bids from spoken to you about, right, withholding account, unemployment account, the PTO, sick and safe leave, poster compliance? And 9 out of 10 times the response is no, nobody's told me that I need all of this stuff. Okay, well, there's the difference right there.
Are you sure you want to bid?
No, no, it's just
Yeah.
kind of the way it works.
Yeah, yeah, interesting, interesting, interesting. Kind of along that line, I mean, in building a business, growing a business, there's always an interesting hurdle to have to get across. What's one of the more memorable ones that you've had to deal with?
Wow. Wow. You know, I'll tell you the biggest positive, right, in a company
Hmm.
are your employees. Right?
Hmm.
The biggest hurdle you overcome, sometimes with the employees as well, right? I think the as you grow, there are personalities, and as a CEO, you end up also not only selling and representing and motivating, but you also end up being a therapist, a psychologist,
Oh, yeah.
a dispute resolution person. I think that was one of the biggest shocks and hurdles, right, that I had to kind of overcome. Was that I'm not a very, being an accountant, right? I'm not a very much a person that likes conflict or
Hmm.
wants to sit down and do resolution. But you really learn that that's part of the job.
Yeah. Yes. It's funny. You were trained as an accountant. I was trained as an engineer. We were trained to deal with numbers and physical, tangible kinds of issues. And here we are. Uh, Nobody prepared me for having to sit down and listen and hear out somebody's personal life story and the impact that's having on the business. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's
And
an
when
interesting.
you're in a this role, and your mindset is very much sales, you kind of
Hmm.
learn over time too, that, and my wife says this to me, is that I get dopamine hits from sales, right?
Mm.
And so I love that positive energy, right? The
Hmm.
positivity of closing a deal, right? And knowing this
Hmm.
client is happy and they're in great hands, right? Being
Hmm.
onboarded and implemented and running payrolls and all
Hmm.
of that. And so you love the positive side. And then when there's this
Hmm.
hurdle you have to overcome, you're like, oh, really? A hurdle? Oh, this is not what I want to do, but it is something you have to do.
It's an opportunity to make it better.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
cool. Looking ahead, kind of switching direction from looking in the past, looking into the future, where do you see the business going in the next 5 years, 10 years? What's the future?
well, that's a really loaded question there. So,
Mm.
there are sort of the personal goals, and then there are the
Hmm.
industry, right, direction that it's going in.
Hmm.
And on the personal goal side, I am a big fan of Grant Cardone. I'm a big fan of
Hmm.
mentors, right?
Hmm.
And I bought into the whole 10x model many years ago. And
Hmm.
the model of believing that we should 10x our business,
Hmm.
still provide phenomenal service, don't change that model. Um, but really, my mindset every year has always been 10x growth. And,
Good.
we don't hit it every year, right? We don't double our business every year, but I'm of that philosophy that it's better to say you're going to double and hit 75% of that than to just shoot for 10% growth and you did 10%.
Yeah, right, right.
Doesn't
Yes. Yeah.
really, doesn't, it's not my personality. And so
Good.
now you have to make sure you have the back end to support all of that as well,
Hmm.
right? So whereas most large companies are squeezing the personnel, that's one thing we
Hmm.
don't do. We're very focused on making sure that client service is the focus. Everything comes from that.
Hmm.
From the business perspective, the industry perspective, I should say, uh, I think AI is going to have a part in this. And
Hmm.
whether it allows you to keep staffing levels the same, right? Because AI is assisting in some way. Uh,
Hmm.
I think that that's going to happen. Uh,
Hmm.
I have seen already part of the IPPA and TPG, which are great payroll associations. We've seen AI creep into payroll, where
Hmm.
it's right now in the stages of you ask a question about pulling up reports or how do I find this, and it will help you with that.
Hmm.
I am still a believer that payroll has a long way to go before AI takes over payroll. It's very complex, and there
Hmm.
are questions and nuances to payroll that need to be asked. And so it's not that AI can't assist in that. I think that it's going to over the next few years. It's going to become a huge help, even if it's about catching onboarding errors or even
Hmm.
assisting with onboarding in general. Uh,
Hmm.
onboarding a client, unfortunately, today is still very much a manual process, right?
Hmm.
There's forms that need to be filled out, there's signatures that need to be obtained, there's the bank penny test that needs to occur, there's
Hmm.
employee history and loading that has to be put in, right? There's the first payroll that needs to be run and double checked and triple checked and then
Hmm.
gotten approval and then finalized.
Hmm.
There will be AI involved in some of that process at some point, for sure.
Hmm. What do you see as your main challenges in driving this forward like that?
I think it's about having enough time to keep informed as to
Mm.
what is really happening with AI
Yeah.
and what it
Hmm.
can do. I
Hmm.
have a friend of mine who is in a different business who literally sat down and used AI to create an entire onboarding process
Hmm.
for this is a CFO that
Yep.
does outsource CFO consulting. And they've
Yep.
developed she's developed this entire process through AI that
Hmm.
is phenomenal. And she
Hmm.
showed it to me, and it's truly amazing what it can do. And so uh, I think having enough time to really see where this is going and how it's going to
Hmm.
change the industry uh, is going to be one of the challenges.
Hmm.
The current challenge that we deal with is more regulatory,
Hmm.
and at some point, it's got to shift from regulatory challenges to where's the industry going, right, with AI.
Well, that's a good point. In your industry, regulatory challenges are almost daily, aren't they? As different jurisdictions change something, keeping up with those changes has got to be a really interesting challenge all by itself.
It is for sure. It's it's fun in the sense that uh, you are aware of new things that you're able to educate your clients on, right? Changes that are occurring. Simple example, right? We've already discussed was the Maryland Sick and Safe Leave when that came out in
Hmm.
2015. and the Maryland mandate for retirement accounts as well, which just happened last year. So, requiring businesses, anybody with one employee or more, to have some sort of a retirement plan, whether that's a 401k, whether that's an IRA, whatever it's going to be, or even giving the employees information to Maryland Saves, as an example, right? So having that knowledge and being able to educate our clients, I think is something that also sets us apart.
Good point. Good point. Yeah. Okay. Boy, and AI can be a wonderful tool just in that avenue, can it?
Absolutely, 100%.
Putting together programs for different jurisdictions so that people can see what they've got to or can do.
Absolutely. And, even as simple as putting into AI, you know, share with me any new laws, regulations related to payroll to employees that have been passed, right, in the last 30 days. And then, of course, with that information or that information you get back, you've got to look at it. You've got to make sure it's
Yeah.
accurate. You've got to go
Yeah.
into the law and read the law. It's not just
Yeah.
trusting AI.
Yes.
Really is
Right.
about at least the starting of getting that information.
Awesome. 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 So just kind of thinking a little bit broadly now, you've learned a lot. You've changed a lot. You've tried a lot. You've done a lot. If you started a business up today, new, would you
Wow.
do anything different?
Wow. I think that I would probably tell myself, right, as a mentor to mentee, that it's not going to be as easy as you think it's going to be. And, it's going to be a lot of late nights, a lot of
Uh-huh.
hours. There's going to be folks that are big champions for you and folks that are
Hmm.
not going to be champions. And relationships will, come and go.
Hmm.
Um, but it's not for the faint of heart or the weak of stomach, for sure. And it's funny
Or
how
the
many
thin of
people,
skin.
oh, definitely. It's interesting how many people I've met over the years who, were employees and who said, you know what, I'm just going to go off and start my own company. And I would say to them, you are your own company. You may be working for somebody, but you are your own company the way you are now. And
Hmm.
if you learn how to maximize your value as a company, as an individual,
Hmm.
right, you can do almost anything within a company,
Hmm.
right? Now, that's assuming that the boss is actually, a good boss and, they're interested in your growth. And if you grow in the company,
Right.
they're going to grow with you and
Yeah.
all of that, which I find to be more often than not, right? But I think the misconception that you're unhappy and it's someone else's fault and I'm just going to go off and start my own thing is just easy to do. It's not. There are so many challenges that go along with starting a business. And I tell you, I'll tell you the scariest time that I had in my business was when I hired my first employee.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
signing of that offer letter, that acceptance was probably the scariest moment, right?
Yeah.
And and I truly believe to this day that if you say you're starting a business and it's only you don't have a business, right? You are someone who's working with X number of bosses. So you went from having one boss, right? You have 10 clients, now you have 10 bosses, right?
Plus the checking account.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it does work in some fields, right?
Hmm.
It does work in some fields where, as a mentor, right?
Hmm.
Or consulting, right? It does work in that role because you are basically consulting and helping somebody. But if you talk about like a payroll business as an example, you cannot run a payroll business with you only. It's not a business. It just doesn't work.
I am really glad you brought that up. That's a really important aspect. I don't think the biggest problem is starting a business. I think the biggest problem is making the business become a business.
That's a great way to put it. Absolutely.
I heard a interesting set of parameters recently in a book. And basically it labeled three layers. One layer is you're the business, you're trading your time for money. The second layer is you're the entrepreneur and you've got some things going on and now you're trading money for time.
Yeah.
And then there's a third layer where you're beyond that and you're not working in the business anymore and you're trading money for money. Kind of the Richard Branson
Yeah.
approach.
But to get to that level is major investment in time, in dollars.
Hmm.
It's amazing how many people over the last 25 years I've seen that would start a business. They start to take some income.
Hmm.
And when you speak to them, like, I can't grow. I don't understand. And you're like, well, have you reduced your salary and hired another person to grow? Like, no, I don't want to reduce my salary. I said, well, then, you need money to grow. And if you're not
Hmm.
willing to take it out of your pocket, then you've got to be willing to take it from the bank, right? And
Yes.
pay it. And
Yes.
and it's amazing how many people are really just stuck at that X level
Yes.
because they're
Right.
comfortable.
Yeah. That was exactly the point. Fantastic. This is awesome. This is some really good stuff. Um, and I think it's some really important stuff I think people need to hear. Um, but I don't want to take all day. So in the interest of time, I think I want to start heading towards wrapping up with a few rapid fire questions. What would you say is your key to success?
Relationships.
Mm, hmm.
Relationships. And I think it's so underplayed today that the relationships that you create with folks, that ability for them to call you when they need and have it
Hmm.
done. And it's not only that, we have clients that will call me that are nonprofits that say, hey, we're having a fundraiser. Do you mind helping? Absolutely. No problem. So
Hmm.
it's about giving back to your clients as well. It's not just take,
Hmm.
take, 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 right? It's being there.
Hmm.
So one of
Yeah.
the interesting things was I was talking with a friend the other day about an event that was going on, and I was asked by COI, Center of Influence, friend of mine, to come to the event, and I said absolutely no problem, and it's at 6:30 to 8 o'clock in Baltimore, right? And so that's an hour drive for me, and traffic is probably an hour and a half. And
Mm,
my uh, other buddy said, I can't go. That's just too far. And I
mm,
said, but that's the difference in the investment you make in a relationship. It's important to them that they have a good showing.
hmm.
Relationship involves work on both ends, right? It's like a
Yeah.
marriage. It involves work on both ends. It can't just always
Yeah.
be cake.
Yes. Good. 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 And this kind of feeds into the next question I'm going to ask. Let's suppose you and I were at the coffee shop, and there's a great coffee shop down the street. Um, if you and I were having coffee there, and somebody walked in talking about the business he was getting ready to start up, what's one piece of advice you'd give him?
Wow, that's a loaded question, Stephen. Loaded question. You know, I am a very supportive, positive person. I would never dash somebody's hopes for
Hmm.
starting a business.
Hmm.
I think my response to them would be very much encouragement with a
Hmm.
little bit of a dose of reality of what it's going
Hmm.
to take to get there.
Hmm.
It's not a 9 to 5 job, and you just got to be willing to do whatever it takes. But I am more than happy to support somebody, emotionally, even give me a call. Anything I can do to help, right? Not a problem. We've got connections on LinkedIn, we've got COIs, networking groups. if you don't know about all of that stuff, happy to help, make introductions.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. What's one book you're reading now or read recently that's had impact on how you've driven this business forward?
So I love reading, and I love reading business books. I think that even if you get one knowledge, one thing of knowledge from a book, it's worth the $30. I mean,
Hmm.
whatever you paid for the book. And
Hmm.
so I'm an avid reader from that perspective. And
Hmm.
one of the books that I have read and I keep rereading as a reminder, right, is called Fanatical Prospecting.
Hmm.
One. And just there's so many things in the book that you already know if you're in sales,
Hmm.
but it's just that reminder, right? That
Hmm.
constant reminder. You know,
Hmm.
as the president CEO, there's nobody telling you, right? Hey, you're not performing. Hey, you aren't hitting your metrics. Hey, you're not doing this and that. Why did you only go to 2 meetings today instead of 5 meetings? And so I think sometimes in this position, you need to continue to read to remind you
Hmm.
what you're doing and what you're not doing well. So,
Hmm.
Fanatical Prospecting is a great book. Uh, LinkedIn Connect is another great book. And that's a great book as well because it teaches you, there are other avenues that you need to add, right?
Hmm.
Everybody does the networking face to face. Everybody
Yep,
does
right,
the Zoom networking, right? But you gotta be able to add what the new technology is allowing you to add. If you
right.
don't keep up with that, I think you'll get lost.
You miss opportunities.
I don't think you let go of the old. I don't think you let go of networking
Right.
face to face and building relationships. But you've got to figure out how to add the new with the old. It's just become a lot more than it used to be.
Yeah, very good. Very good. That's good. I like that. You've had a great journey.
It's just getting started. It's just getting started, even after
I-
25 years.
In this journey, what are you most proud of?
You know, I'll tell you every year in January, my wife will say to me, how did you do last year? Right. And my response has always been, I don't know. It's not relevant. It's the future that matters.
Yeah.
And, she does kind of bring me back and say, okay, well, what are the real numbers? And, I'll tell her, well, we grew by X percentage, which was awesome.
Yeah.
She's like, you should be proud of yourself. And I
Yeah.
said, okay, I am for 30 seconds, but it's about the future, right? It's how do we continue to service our clients? How do we continue to grow? How do we continue to be better and better at what we're doing? And to get that feedback, right, from our clients as to how we can do better. And
Hmm.
it's about relationships. Uh, I'll tell you the funniest thing is when we go to a restaurant or we go to a retail shop or we go
Hmm.
to really almost anywhere and they are a client of mine and the owner will come in and say, oh, Steve, so good to see you. How are things going? And my wife will say, can't we go somewhere and just have a quiet dinner and like you not have a 10-minute conversation with 12 people in a restaurant? I said, but that's what I love to do.
Yeah.
Love sort of supporting, right, our clients and going to their
Right.
places. And I love
Yeah.
having the conversations and the fact
Yeah.
that they're willing to say hi and want to say hi is like that positive reinforcement. Yep, we're doing a great job. And that's, I think, what I'm most proud of over the
Awesome.
25 years.
Awesome. Awesome. Kind of flipping the question around and following up from that. What's one, if you had a magic wand, what would be one thing you would improve this afternoon if you could?
Wow. Ooh, that's a tough one. First of all, I think that there's always room for improvement, no matter
Right.
always. And I think the point at which you believe there's no improvement, it's time. You need to start looking for something else, right?
Yeah, right.
Uh, I'll tell you, I still think that trying to figure out how to do it all, right,
Mm,
is my biggest challenge. If I could
hmm.
improve on that process, I think
Hmm.
that is something that I would love to see happen. And I think
Hmm.
AI is going to help with that. I think
Hmm.
that ability to learn how to use AI and say, here's what my day looks like. Here's the processes that I
Uh-huh.
do. Can you help me make those more efficient? I
Yeah.
think that's going to be a huge help, but you got to make the
Awesome. 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 Kind of going to a more important question, maybe the most important question. How can people who want to know more get in touch with you? What's the best way?
well, I am available via email. I'm available on the phone. I'm available going to the website. ASAPPayroll.com is our website. And my contact information, right, is Steve at ASAPPayroll.com. And telephone number 301-710-0930. So many ways to reach out to us. And again, it's one of the things that we try to do is be accessible.
Very good. Very good. This has been a great conversation. You've done a lot. You've shared a lot of really good and important points for those who want to get there, want to get past that early phase. This has been really, really good. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Well, thank you for taking the time to interview me and to get a little bit of take on what it's like to be in this business for 25 years.
Yeah, it's an interesting process. I want to encourage everybody watching to save the show and come back. Steve really has shared some really good nuggets of information and clues as to what it takes to move a business forward. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you can get notifications when we drop new conversations like this one. Thank you to everyone who joined us and listened through for us with us today. And especially thank you to Steve for sharing with us, being vulnerable and sharing all of those really great nuggets. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.